Hello Freedom Seekers, Jeremy Chambers, Independence Acres Homestead. Coming to you this beautiful Friday evening with some updates on our quail cages. So there's nothing worse than being unprepared when you have new animals coming to the homestead. And unfortunately, that's kind of the way we were when we were expecting our first quail. We received the eggs, and I knew they were coming, but there was a big delay in them because of shipping. So when the eggs finally arrived, we got them in the incubator right away. At that time, I knew I had about 20 days to get some cages and a cage rack made. And we are followers of Homestead Evolution, AJ Farms, and we have watched a lot of their videos about quail raising and cage making, and so I kind of decided to do a cage based on their design, but putting our own little rabbit cage twist because those are the supplies I had. But I was kind of rushed, and so even though I had the cages made, the stand for the cages looked kind of like that. It just wasn't very solid, wasn't the prettiest, wasn't the most well prepared. So over the last month or so, I've built some additional cages and have made some changes to the rack itself and came up with a design that I'm hoping is going to be just a little easier to deal with, number one, and keep clean, but also maximize our space. So my original cage design is this one right here. Oh, you have to forgive the sun. Let me close the door. It's a little sunny here. Whew. There we go. That's better. Now we can see what's going on here. All right, so this is the original cage design that I started with. In total, it takes up 14 inches of space, 12 inches high at the back, and 13 and a half high on the front here. And it's got there's 16 inches deep and 24 wide. Now this is a decent cage design, but it's just too tall. It was just taking up too much space. So here's the new design. The new design follows those same dimensions as far as 16 deep and 24 wide, but I limited it to 9 inches high in the back and 11 inches high in the front here. So that means in that 16 inches I've got a 2-inch slope in order to allow the eggs to roll to the front here. So what I did is I just bent up. So this is the same wire that we use for the base of our rabbit cages. It's the 1-inch by half galvanized after welding, so it's got a little smoother finish to it. Hi, buddy. I love their little crows there. And so on the floor, like I said, I've got it sloping about a 2-inch from the back to the front slope. And then I bend it down a 1/2 inch and then back up on this front edge here in order to have an egg roll. And as you can see, it allows the eggs to roll out pretty well. And on the edges here, I've got zip ties. It just kind of acts like a bowling bumper in order to just make sure the egg doesn't roll off the edge here. So for dropping pans, I did make these myself, bend them myself. I got some 22 gauge aluminum, made them 16 deep, 24 wide to match the size of the cage, rolled the edges up 1 inch. And then this is the first iteration of feeders here. It's kind of hard to see with the sunlight coming right in here. But it was made out of a 2-inch PVC pipe with caps. And then I split out the top third, put in some wire so they can't kick the food all over the place. And those have worked well, but they're not the best. So this is the new design. This is a 3-inch pipe that we've split in half. I've got 1x1 wire across the top. So far it's been pretty good about making sure they don't kick the feed around with their beaks as they're digging around for the feed. So I'm pretty happy with that design. There's going to be a video upcoming about how we split the PVC, cut it in half, and then just the basics of the build there. With this cage height, I will be able to get a total of 4 cages in this 6-foot span. So we're going to really be able to maximize this corner of the bunny barn here and use as much of this floor space as possible. Another thing that I had on the old stand was, well, there were just some L brackets here holding the dropping trays, and yeah, it would catch stuff that fell down, but quail are more like rabbits than I thought as far as pushing their butts up to the edge of the cage and letting loose with whatever they got in there. So there was constantly issues of them pooping outside of the cages. So one of the things I did, well, I also put this stand on rollers so I can roll it around. One of the things I did to help combat that, right, was I bent some aluminum here to create a little channel to catch any of them droppings if they stick their bottoms up to the side of the cage there, and it'll channel the droppings down into the pan. Now I put this on wheels so that I can roll it out of here and clean it a lot easier than just a standard stand. And I just use a bungee cord here to strap it back to the side. The other thing I've got is I have this LED light bar going across the side here. And as winters get shorter here in Michigan, I'm concerned that egg production is going to begin going away. So with that LED light bar, that'll be on a timer, and that'll come on and give us a good 16 hours of light. It doesn't have to be super bright, it just has to be some light to make sure that we get that egg production to continue. And then the last thing that we did is for watering. So I wanted these to hold enough water for a couple days, but also I needed it to hold enough water so I could drop like an aquarium heater in here during the winter in order to make sure that these things don't freeze. Now what we are using is the, let's see if they'll stay in there long enough for me to get a video of this, is the horizontal poultry nipples. So we got those off Amazon. I got 12 of them for like 14 bucks, so a pretty good deal. And then the actual containers themselves, they are an Iris airtight pet food container, and I just drill the holes in there and they're strapped to the side of the cage. Now the previous design with these taller cage, the weight is actually resting on this top ledge here. So we got bungee cords and gravity keeping it there. Now for this design, because we went with a slightly shorter cage, we didn't have this lip to rest it on right up here. So the edge of this lip here is resting on the cage. We didn't have that working down here. So I had to build a little steel bracket here to hold the weight, and then we still use the bungee cord just to keep it up tight against the cage. Now these are an airtight container, so the most important thing is to make sure these lids stay open because the water will not come out of the poultry nipples under a vacuum. So if you're going to do containers that have lids, make sure you keep those open. All right. Well, I guess that about does it. You know, we're really excited to have the quail. We're getting right about 8 to 10 eggs a day right now. We've got a good market for quail eggs. Going to start maximizing that here as the weeks go on. Stay tuned so that you'll be able to experience one of two things. Number one, we're going to go through just a quick how-to tutorial on these PVC feeders. And show you just a quick idea of how we split the PVC and then put it together and get the hooks on so we can hook it onto the cages here because they're easily removable. They just attached with some S-hooks here. And number two, we've got our giveaway coming up. If you don't know what that's all about, I encourage you to check out this video right here. And we're here, wherever. Follow the link above to go to last week's video where we tell you what it is we're giving away and how to get entered into that drawing. You've got just a few days left. The drawing is going to be on September 26th, or excuse me, September 16th. September 16th is when we're going to be doing that drawing. So go ahead and make sure that you enter for that drawing. And if you enjoy this, make sure that you like and subscribe so you don't miss any updates on quail cages. You don't miss the feeder, and we're also going to go over just a quick tutorial about how we made the water buckets, show you how that goes. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and as always, God bless.